This is Practical Research 2 subject, and I am your PR2 instructor again, Sir Kevin. Come on, let us study the new lesson for today. For today's lesson, we're going to be talking about designing the questionnaire. Let us begin with the instrument. Instrument is the key to finding the answers in data gathering. This refers to the questionnaire or data gathering tool to be constructed, validated, and administered. If researcher made, it must be tested for validity and reliability. Therefore, kailangan muna ito na ma-test bago ito i-distribute sa mga respondents at kailangan ito ay mascan or makita ng mga validator. Ang validator, ito yung like grammarian or language editor, thesis advisor, yung mga expert para mas maging valid ang iyong questionnaire bago mo ito i-distribute sa kanila, sa mga respondents. The researcher must explain its parts and how the instrument will be validated. The instrument to be used should be appended. Therefore, kailangan ng researcher na ma-explain yung parts nito, alin yung mga control variables, yung independent o dependent variables, its parts din, dahil ang bawat variables ay merong mga question items each, at yung parts nito kung meron ba itong close-ended questions, open-ended questions, and if adopted, the student or the researcher should indicate its descriptions as to its items, scoring, and qualification. A survey questionnaire is a commonly used type of instrument in research that lists questions about a topic with spaces for responses. And these are the type of questions that we may see in questionnaires. First, we have the yes or no. So the question is therefore answerable by yes or no. Example, do you consider research to be important? So it is answerable by yes or no. Second, we have the recognition. For example, which of the following do you consider in buying a phone? Brand name, price, specs, others. So in this case, the respondents will choose on the choices on what he prefers. Completion, it has a blank in the statement or in the question to be filled in. For example, we have, when I hear my phone rings, I blank. Fourth, we have coding. Sa coding naman, dito ay nagpo-provide ng legends. Yung legends maaari very satisfactory, and satisfactory, or poor. Maaari ding agree, strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Mas maganda dito na gamitin yung statement instead of question. Dahil sa statements, dito nakikita ng respondents na sila mismo yung nagsasalita. So, for example, ayan, always. So, I use my phone during class. Always, often, seldom, or never. At yung legends ito ay may equivalent sa 4, 3, 2, 1. Mas magandang gamitin itong coding dahil meron siyang measurement. Number 5, we have the subjective, which is the last. Subjective ay ito yung open-ended question na kukunin yung opinion or yung pinakasagot ng respondents or participants na i-record or isusulat ng researcher. For example, how do you feel when you leave your phone at home accidentally? And that's subjective type of question. These are the keys to finding the answers. First, so it contains different types of questions. So it could be personal, attitudinal, or behavioral, or even sensitive questions if applicable. So for example, so as you can see, the name is optional because the name is not measurable. And then we have the measurable, so we have the age, sex, gender, and race. So as you can see, these are the demographic profile of the respondents. So this is the kind of questioning. Next, so use strategies for goods construction, uses clear language, makes sure that answer options do not overlap, posing questions that are applicable to participants, contain different types of questions, personal, attitudinal, or behavioral, or even sensitive questions. So, in this case, the researcher must use appropriate language. So, hindi pwede tayong gumamit ng highfalutin words na hindi masyadong naiintindihan ng mga respondents, and kailangan yung mga questions natin ay applicable sa mga participants. Siyempre, applicable din na ito ay itanong. So, meron tayong tinatawag na ethical standards. Yung mga privacy ay hindi na dapat itanong. So, itatanong lang natin yung mga measurable na variable lang doon sa ating questionnaire. At kailangan ang ating questionnaire ay mas maging valid. Kaya kailangan ito muna ay matest bago i-distribute sa kanila. Next, we have valid and reliable. So, underwent pilot testing to a small number of individuals. So, mas maganda yung questionnaire natin ay kumuha muna tayo ng mga individuals or kahit sino friend natin or respondents na rin, dahil sila ay check muna natin kung naiintindihan pa nila yung questionnaire natin or hindi bago natin i-distribute. So, itatest muna natin, check muna natin siya kung ito ba ay valid at reliable bago ito i-distribute. To simply understand the differences between validity and reliability, let us discuss it first. Validity is the ability of an instrument to measure what it intends to measure, while reliability is the ability to refer in the consistency of results. So, ang validity, para mas maging valid ang ating study, kailangan ito ay supported ng theory, ito ay connected sa ating statement of the problem. So, scientifically or specifically, kailangan ito ay authentic. While yung reliability naman ay ito yung tinatawag natin na consistency, na kung saan ito bang questionnaire natin, ito bang study natin ay maging reliable ba for future research. Ito ba ay magagamit for future research? Repeat and evaluate questions. So how can we evaluate questions? First example. So as you can see, this is a wrong question. So do you like cell phones? Do you like cell phones? So it is very broad or general because everybody uses cell phones. Everybody has cell phones. So instead of using this question, okay, so it is unclear and vague question. So instead of using that, do you believe that students must be allowed to use cell phones during class? So this question is very specific, and that's the correct question. Next example. Do you believe cell phones and laptops must be allowed for use in the classroom? So in this case, there is a combination of two questions. So we have the cell phones and laptops. The respondents will be confused. For example, they have different opinions about the cell phones and laptops. So you have to separate the two questions. So it must be, do you believe that laptops must be allowed for use inside the classroom? And another question for cell phones. So do you believe that cell phones must be allowed for use inside the classroom? Third, so let us read the question. Do you consider a quad-core processor to be an important feature of a cell phone? The question uses a jargon. So jargon, you say jargon, this is a vocabulary word from the expert only. So the quad-core processor is a jargon or a word from the IT experts because they know that, and most of the respondents do not know what is quad-core processor. Ang quad-core processor, ito ay tumutukoy dun sa bilis ng cellphone. So instead of using this question, so is the speed of response of their cellphone important to you? So mas magandang gamitin yung pinaka-basic. So we have to select basic or appropriate language for our questions. Fourth, so as you can see in the question, it is too long. So instead of using this question that is very too long, so make it concise or brief. So in the first question, which is the wrong one, so whenever the teacher is discussing in front of the class and a phone rings right in the middle of it, it can be distracting. Do you find the ringing of a phone distracting enough to take you out of your focus? So instead of using this, do you find ringing sounds of a phone distracting while in class? So etong question na to ay mas pinaikli at mas specific siyang tingnan. Last, we have agree or disagree. The school should not discontinue its ban of cellular phones in class. In this question, it has double negatives. Say double negatives, we use two negative words. So as you can see, we have here the not and discontinue. So not na siya and then discontinue pa siya. So mas maganda kung tanggalin natin yung not and then discontinue na lang, or tanggalin natin yung suffix na this tapos not continue. Pero dahil meron tayong agree or disagree, pagsamahin natin, i-merge natin yung dalawang ito sa isang question para mas maging answerable siya by yes or no. So for example, do you agree that the school should continue banning phones in class? Ayan, so pinagsama natin agree dito and then yung double negative sinanggal natin. So this is answerable now by yes or no. These are the steps on how to write research instrument. These are the guidelines. First, what instruments will you use to gather data to answer your research questions? Describe the instruments. So for example, the researcher will use questionnaire or self-made questionnaire, and the researcher will describe the self-made questionnaire that they will choose. Second, we have why did you choose this instrument? So the researcher will explain this. Third, what are the major parts of your instruments, including the major variables and sub-variables to be measured? Fourth, what rating scale will you use? Yung rating scale, ito yung merong measurement ng bawat legends. So for example, we have here the statement of the problem of the level of social media usage of grade 12 students of the LaSalle Araneta University. So it has variables, three variables which are forms of social media, frequency of social media use, mode of social media use. So bawat variable na ito ay lalagyan nila ng questions. So this is the example of writing the research instrument. So this is the specific example. So pwede niyo siyang screenshot. So ganyan ang pinaka specific na example ng questionnaire, ng instrument on how we write the description of our instrument or our data gathering tool. So let us now move on to data collection procedure. First, First, we have the intervention. So it clearly and completely describes how the intervention will be implemented such that the reader can replicate the intervention. Describe what happens in comparison group. First, how many groups are there? Describe the group or groups if there are two stated similarities and differences. So, kailangan natin describe kung meron tayong treatment group or control group or isang group lang ng experimental group. Next, what will happen to each group in the experiment that you intend to do? Discuss the procedure step by step. So, discuss natin yung procedure natin step by step doon sa ating mga groups kung meron ba tayong pre-test, post-test, sa kung ano mangyayari sa ating experiment. Then third, we have explain what each participant will do in each step. Also, describe how long each of these steps will take. So for example, sa questionnaire natin, so bago natin i-distribute, ano ba yung muna natin gagawin? At after ng ating survey, ano na yung gagawin naman tayo ng statistical treatment. And then, explain din natin yung step by step na gagawin ng ating mga participant or respondents. So, for example, doon sa previous lesson natin about doon sa steroid, so merong dalawang lalaki na mag-take ng steroid, so while yung dalawa naman ay hindi. So, yun yung experimental group at control group na kailangan natin explain. At kung ano yung mangyayari doon sa dalawang group na iyon. Next, we have the data collection procedure. So, it has guidelines that we must follow. First, describe whose permission will be sought and what arrangements need to be made to administer instruments. Second, after all permissions have been granted, discuss how the samples will be conducted and explain the process of administering the questionnaire. And third, state how the questionnaires will be retrieved. Example. First, the researchers shall seek the permission of the authors of the instruments that will be adapted in this study. So, for example, gagamit ka ng questionnaire ng ibang author, kailangan meron ka muna nilang permission para hindi ka magkaroon ng copyright or plagiarism. Next, the researchers will secure permission of the university to obtain a list of senior high school students from which the samples will be selected. Also, a permission to conduct data collection will be sought from the concerned officials of the school. So, for example, ang respondents mo ay sa school ng De La Salle University. So, kailangan gumawa ka muna ng isang request letter para makuha yung sample size ng respondents mo sa De La Salle at para mas maging valid ang study mo, makuha mo yung sample. Pero since ito ay university, kailangan mo muna ng request letter dahil ito ay for educational purposes or for your research purposes. Next, we have the questionnaire shall be distributed to the selected samples during one of their classes with the permission from the facilitating professor and the note of approval of the university. So, syempre para mas maging formal ang ating data gathering, kailangan meron tayong letter from the university at approval doon sa university bago tayo mag-conduct ng survey. Dahil ito ay magiging illegal ito kapag wala tayong approval at bigla tayong papasok sa isang university without permission. So, kailangan, since ito ay formal, ito ay research purposes, kailangan mas maging formal at alam natin na wala tayong illegal na gagawin. Fourth, we have questionnaires shall be retrieved the same day as they were given to ensure a higher return percentage of questionnaires. So, kailangan yung same day lang din natin na yung questionnaire natin kung ano yung schedule nga, yun mismo tayo magkakonduct ng survey para mas maging valid siya. So these are the statistics in educational research of our chapter 4. So we have the descriptive statistics, the central tendency, mean, median, mode, the variability, the usage of variance, standard deviation, and range, and relative standing. And inferential statistics. So as you can see, we have the parametric and non-parametric, the usage of chi-square, Pearson, or correlation. So in next meeting or in next lesson, we will discuss the basic statistics in chapter 4. To answer the questions presented under the statement of the problem, the following statistical tools will be employed. So first, percentage will be used to present and analyze data regarding the demographic profile of the respondents. So for example, there are 50% of the males and 50% of the females. And then for example, we have 15% of 21 years old, we have 45% of 18 years old, for example. Next, we have weighted mean will be computed to represent the responses of each respondent to the questionnaire and their attention span score, while standard deviation will be used to determine the degree of variability in these values. So dito naman, weighted mean yung tutuusin mula doon sa ating data na nakuha para mas maging valid yung study, na itong weighted mean na to ay galing doon sa mga nasagutan nilang questionnaire. And next, we have the person product moment correlation coefficient will be used to determine the degree of relationship between social media use and attention span. So etong example na ito na pagsulat ng ating statistical treatment na gagamitin. Ganito yung pinaka-example niya. So, yung pangatlo nakita natin, person product moment correlation ang gagamitin niya para makita yung relationship ng dalawang variable na included dun sa ating study. So, that would be all today. Thank you and goodbye everyone. See you next meeting.